So in this module, we're going to go over how to create new resources and how to create new users in the RPKI.net software. This will not actually add users to the routers that we have seen. It only shows the interface to the RPKI.net software. In a future module, we may show how to configure new routers as well, but that's a more complex topic. So I've logged in as root, as you can tell, in the upper menu bar. And I am going to show a couple of new screens. I'm going to show the web users list. This is a list of accounts that are allowed to log in, and you note that all the lab users are here, along with the root account. There isn't an IANA account because the list of web users is distinct from the list of resource holders, so don't confuse the two. The list of web users are the people that can log into the system. So before I create a web account for a new user, I want to create a resource holder for him. So this is the list of resource holders, and you can see we have IANA, the workshop, and all the lab users. I want to create a new resource holder. I want to create a resource holder. We're going to call him lab user 42. And we want his parent to be the workshop. That's who he should get allocations from. And then the final box is who that web user is allowed to manage identities for. Since he is a lab user, we don't want to give him special permissions, so I won't check anything in that box. Click Save, and it will create a new resource holder, lab user 42. Now if I go back to the list of web users, which this link and this link take me to the same place, I'm going to create a new account for him to log into the RPKI.net web page. So I'm going to use the same username, lab user 42. I'm going to give him an account of root at localhost. Hopefully he would have a better address than that. And a password, which I'm also setting to lab user 42. This bottom list is a list of what resource holders this web user is allowed to manage. I only want to let him manage the lab user 42 account, so I will click on that and click Save. Now my new user is completely set up. Now let's figure out what we want to do in terms of allocation. Let's pretend lab user 42 needs a brand new allocation. I'm actually going to start in IANA. So if I select identity, I'm going to go to IANA. IANA already has as a child the workshop. If I click on the workshop, it takes me to a list of the current prefixes and other resources that the child already has. In this case, I want to allocate a new prefix to this child. So let's give him the 10.0 private address space. Again, this is a fictitious example. So we'll do 10.0.0/8 and click Save. Now it shows that the child workshop has 2 address spaces. Now let's have the workshop go ahead and allocate out that address space to lab user 42. I'm going to change my identity. This could all be done by logging in and logging out and logging in and logging out. I'm using the root to speed up this demonstration. If I become the workshop and I go down through my children, you can see that in the process of creating it, because I selected the workshop as a parent, lab user 42 is already present in the list. If I click on that, we'll find that he has nothing allocated to him. He has no addresses and no ASNs yet. So let's give him one. Let's give him a prefix. I can give him an address block of 10.0.0.0/ and let's say I don't want to give him all of it. I'm going to give him a /16. I'm going to click Save. So if I log in as the workshop, we will see that the 10.0.0.0/8 is now in the list of both our allocated and unallocated resources like we would expect. Note that if you do not see the new allocation, you might need to click the refresh button to make sure that the system is up to date. Sometimes it does not immediately show up on the screen. Now we can go down to lab user 42. For lab user 42, we can see that it doesn't have any addresses or ASNs yet. We will give it a new prefix, and we're going to allocate half of our range to it. So we'll give it a /9, the first /9 out of the block. Click Save. And now we can see that our child address has that allocation to it. The RPKI.net interface also allows me to assign ASNs, but we won't do that for this demonstration, but it's rather simple in nature. Now, if we go out to select identity, we can go into lab user 42 and become this lab user. Note that there is no resources or unallocated resources yet, so hit the refresh button, and voila, there are the resource allocations. And as lab user 42, I could of course go through and create rows just like we did before. We wanted a row with a max length of 9 and give it to the same parent router that we had before, one of them. So in this module, we very quickly showed you how to switch between identities and manage resources all the way from IANA, handing out resources to new users or to existing ones if you needed to as well, and manage the whole IP address space. This completes our overview of the RPKI.NET management interface. Fairly simple all the way through and very easy to use.